Welcome to the Neuro Performance Podcast with your host, Andy Murphy. Join us as we delve into the advanced high-performance tactics he uses with his elite clientele across the globe. Let's unlock a whole new world of business potential together.
Because what it does is it brings you out of your emotion and it brings you back into logic. Trading is a balance, right? Of logic and like that intuition, that instinct. It's like this is the right moment to go in. But when we're in emotion, the challenge becomes is that we can justify the trade. We can justify why it's the right thing to do. Because it's good. But you got to realize the trading platform is a casino, right? And if you're a professional, professionals make money off the amateurs.
What's going on, Neuro performers, and welcome to episode 436. Hope you're amazing as always and life is treating you really, really good. Do you know what? I'm excited about today's episode. I am. I know it's about trading. It is. It's about trading. I'll tell you all about it in a minute. I will. But the thing is, a trader is an entrepreneur. And if you listen to this, you probably want to, right? You could be a deca millionaire, or a billionaire, or all the way down to having an idea of just getting started. This episode's for you, and it's also, well, this podcast for you. And I'm glad you're here. I really am. And the reason I wanted to share this episode is I recorded with Cam last week. Yeah, and I actually ended up doing a 10-part series. I just went on his show to, just to do a normal episode. Cam Hawkins is a really cool guy, and definitely, if you're a trader of any level, he's definitely someone you want to be in touch with. He runs a brand called Trading Nuts. Right? It's a good title. It's a good title. And he's got a YouTube channel, 188,000 or something about that, maybe 184, something like that. And a couple of years ago, 2022, we did an episode together and it got 17,000 views, got 600 likes, massive amounts of comments. And it was really me going into the intricate details of really the neuroscience and the psychology of trading. It's not very different to the psychology of an entrepreneur. It's really, really not, because traders are entrepreneurs, right? It's just using that mechanism or that unique mechanism to be able to create, well, an income stream. That's the same as any entrepreneurs. I'm sure it's the same as you. Now, what was really cool to watch is over the years, Cam worked with me as a client many years ago, and when he first started this brand. And it was really, really cool to watch. He worked with me for about 6 months, and then his brand absolutely exploded. And it was so good. He comments about this when we were doing these episodes, but it's really, really cool to watch. And that's my whole thing. When we dial the psychology and when we look at the marketing strategies and we laser beam towards something that's connected to your internal emotional driver and you have clarity, then it's just what you do. You just go and win. And it's amazing to watch after thousands of clients, and I love people getting success, you know. So when we did the original episode, that was right in the middle of COVID. Yeah, the crazy dark days of COVID. You know, I can't even remember what country I was in. I was traveling so many different countries. Everyone got stuck in countries, and I think I did about 7 during that first year of COVID, maybe first 18 months. And it was kind of cool to be able to connect with Cam, who's over in New Zealand. And so, what we wanted to do, that first episode did really, really well. We wanted to do a follow up 2 years later. And so, these 10 steps are really powerful. I didn't mean to, but it's kind of what I do on interviews. I really went into depth. I really went into depth and give a lot of tactics and strategies that I don't ever give on podcast interviews. People pay me for these things. But you combine these 10 tactics, because each episode has a tactic, and you combine that with the Genius Trader, you've got a solid program for yourself. And I know it's going to fine tune and help you in your trading, and that's the thing. So I'm going to put links in the show notes for Cam's YouTube channel, and you just go and check it out. There's so many interviews on there and a lot of content. So what I wanted to do today was just simply give a few little clips from the ten episodes that I just did, and a little bit of content from the previous one, and that's it. But I know combined it'll help, and that's all I'm here to do, is just help. So we'll jump into that in 1 minute, but just before we do, let me ask you a question. Especially if you're a long-term listener. Now, we've done over 3 million downloads. I do over 100,000 downloads a month. And there's been pretty big guests on these shows, right? Some episodes you haven't heard yet, like Beyonce's dad. You've got Deepak Chopra's brother. But we've had UFC Bruce Buffer, the commentator from UFC, if you don't know. And we've had people like Ben Greenfield, who is multi-time guest on Joe Rogan, and so many others. If you ever wanted to be a guest on this show, then here is your opportunity. And take on 10 people per quarter to come on the show. And we give you so much value. One, you're going to have a dedicated episode just for you, right? You're going to be able to associate your name next to all of these incredible people. And you're going to have an interview on this show that's going to be there for the rest of your life and the rest of the the future of this show. And we're just getting started. So if you like that, hit the show notes and see how you can be a part of it. The other thing that you can be a part of is, if you've ever watched Joe Rogan and it suddenly clicks to a commercial, right? Imagine if that was you. Imagine if you could have your brand, your service as one of these brand new sponsors. Yeah, you could be a sponsor of the show and get access to hundreds of thousands of people every single month. And again, if that sounds like something you want to do, it's a brand new feature that I'm putting out, and it's not for everyone. Just like the guest episodes, it's very, very limited, and I want you to get the best exposure, the biggest ROI for your brand. So I'm offering again a unique opportunity to become one of the Neuro Performance key sponsors. How cool would that be? I know it's going to be cool, and I know that you're going to want to do it. So if that sounds good, you want to be a guest or you want to sponsor the show, why don't you right now check those description notes out and click on that link, and let's chat to see if you are a right fit.
All right, folks, we've got a familiar face in the house. We've got Andy Murphy back on. If you remember, if you've been watching the show for a while, you would have remembered him bringing a whole ton of mindset hacks, a great little series, and we're going to try and replicate that, but with a slightly different bent. This time, we're looking at you as somebody going through either a prop firm challenge, or if you're already funded and you're trying to keep that funded account, you don't want to lose that funded account. We're going to help you rewire your brain with a 10-part series that's really going to nail this for you once and for all. So, Andy, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, buddy. It's really nice to see you. And hello, everybody. And I feel these days, especially now with what's going on in the world, this is kind of important. And that's why we wanted to put this together for people, right?
Yeah. Look, and I think, it's an opportunity that I know a lot of traders really struggle with. They get to that, I'm a funded trader now. I've passed that challenge, which may take them a few attempts. They finally get there, and then for whatever reason, the mindset just kicks in. And I've met so many traders like this, and they'll just lose that account pretty quickly as well. In some cases, like the quickest I've seen is kind of 1 day. So it's like you've got the account, and the first day you've lost it, and it's taking you months and months to get there. So we're going to start off with a 10-part series. Now, this is we're going to go into lots of things here, folks, that are going to help you. So we're going to talk about like the gambler versus a trader, the dopamine loops, that getting the right state, mastering that state, the professional trader's mindset, anchoring your environment, how you stop chasing those losses if you do have some losses and you want to try and win them back, how being more of an athlete or having that athlete's mindset is going to help you out, and also controlling that inner dialogue and some just instinct and bringing that to the forefront. So there's tons of stuff in the series. Now we're going to dive in today and just go through the first one. So we want to talk about gambling versus trading. So if you're going into this and you start becoming a gambler, you've just passed that funded account where you've been that trader. How do we interrupt that pattern of that gambler kind of sneaking back in?
Sure, it's a dramatic shift that people have to go through, right? It's like being an amateur athlete and then going to the Olympics. Well, the Olympics are amateurs, but really they probably shouldn't be, right? But there's a big dramatic shift. It's like going from training camp to the day of the event, where you're ready to win the gold medal. There shouldn't be any difference, right? It should be a smooth transition. But what happens is, and we'll go through more about this, it's like you literally start to feel the pressure, right? And so what that means is, we're talking technical terms, is your nervous system gets triggered into the wrong thing, right? It goes from parasympathetic, which means calm, and it gets switched into something called sympathetic, which means amped up. But when you're sitting at a trade, right, when you're sitting at your trading desk and you've got everything set up, you should be calm, right? You should be still. But why do you think these funded accounts make a lot of money? For you, but they also make a lot of money for them. Well, they're all shiny. There's lights everywhere. They're all certain colors, right? It's like being in the casino. So something I told a client of mine was working through exactly this process with maybe about 8 months ago. And I said to them, are you gambling or are you actually there to earn money? And she was like, what do you mean? And I said, understand that you, and we'll talk about this in like number 2, but you are getting addicted to the dopamine hit of actually trading. If there's no trade there, you kind of, I want to trade. So what happens is we step into the casino. And when you're in the casino spent billions of dollars making sure that you stay there and click and click and click, right? So it's the same with these trading accounts. Now, you've got to understand that. Right? So you don't become a victim. What you become is a professional trader. And that's a mindset shift. That's a life shift. That's who you are, who your being has to, okay, now this is about detail. This is about being specific. This is about being on. This isn't a game we're playing, because it's easy in a training camp if you're an athlete, which we'll talk about after. It's easy to be in a casino and just put a little bit of money in. But when you're trading and you're practicing, right, before you've actually got the live account, it's like it doesn't really matter. What's the worst that can happen? Oh, well, you have to pay another $1,000 and I get in again, right? It's not my money. But when you are in an actual situation and it's a live trade, you have to treat it like it's your money. And what that means is we have to understand our brain. And one of the parts of our brain is called this little bit. It's called the prefrontal cortex. What the heck does that mean? It means that you have to understand that that's the decision-making part of your brain. It rationalizes things. It's like the CEO of your brain. It's literally what they call it, the CEO of your brain. So it wants to put this and organize it, right? So if we're not in the right state, which we'll talk about, if our nervous system's not in the right place, which we'll talk about, if we go in there in fear, which we'll talk about too, then what we are in is we're in the wrong version of us, the wrong state, which we'll talk about. So what we've got to learn to do is to interrupt this pattern, which Cam was talking about there. And what does that really mean? Your brain, or the patterns in it, we can call them habits, we can call them behaviors, we can call them whatever you want. But all they want to do is loop. Loop and complete, loop and complete, loop and complete. Our job as a professional trader is to break that pattern so it's not on automatic pilot. And so we become consciously aware, right, of what's automatically happening. And so that means we're not reacting. So how do we do that? Well, when people are under intense pressure, what happens is we have constant internal dialogue going. Constant. And do you know that roughly 65% of what we say to ourselves on a daily basis is actually on repeat? So if we're stepping into a scenario and we're a little bit anxious, a little bit nervous, where's our focus, right? What images or movies are playing in our head, right? If we're nervous. Well, if we're nervous, right, we're not in the right state, which we'll talk about, then that means our focus is on the things that potentially could go wrong, right? Or it's on the future of when you're going to earn all this money. So you take big risks, right? Dopamine's pumping, you're amped up. There, you can see the pattern. I want to go in, but you're not sure. So in those moments, I want you to use a very simple statement. Very simple statement. And it's going to make you aware of, are you in gambling mode or are you in trading mode? Right? Are you getting addicted to the gambling or are you getting addicted to actually being at your absolute best in that moment with precision? Simple question. Am I trading or am I gambling right now? Sounds silly, but it's only silly in this one part unless you understand the next 9 steps. But this one question really makes you reset yourself. Am I about to take this trade for the right reason? Am I about to take this trade because I know logically it's accurate and my instinct is telling me to make this trade, right? One thing, am I trading or am I gambling? What happens if I gamble now? What happens if I actually technically trade now, right? Do you see that shift? Cam?
Yeah, I think I definitely see it, and the weird thing is it's so stupidly simple that anyone can do it, right? And it only takes a millisecond, right? Am I gambling? Am I trading? And all of a sudden, I can even see it in my own mind, like going, okay, that's going to stop me from taking that gambled trade or gambling on that trade. It's going to stop me from. I know that it will stop me from doing that because all of a sudden I'm going to be having to override myself. Right,
Yes.
because I'm answering the question in my head. Yeah, I'm gambling here, or no, I'm trading here. So, okay, great, I can go ahead and move forward with that trade. Which, as somebody who's trading a funded account and not wanting to lose it, that's a biggie. It's huge, right? Because it is going to stop you from losing that funded account for sure, sure.
Because what it does is it brings you out of your emotion and it brings you back into logic. Trading is a balance, right, of logic and like that intuition, that instinct. It's like this is the right moment to go in. But when we're in emotion, the challenge becomes is that we can justify the trade. We can justify why it's the right thing to do. Because it's good. But you've got to realize the trading platform is a casino, right? And if you're a professional, professionals make money off the amateurs, right? Plain and simple. So by bringing yourself back up into the logic, by making precision decisions, by interrupting this pattern, we can give ourselves the best chance. And that's all we're doing, right? We can only do our best. We can only do our best. So the idea in I'll talk about that later with the athlete concept, but when before you've got a funded account, understand what the idea of that is. Before you get a funded account, it's to practice. It's to actually get good at the skills. It's like martial arts, right? You have to hit the pads and spar before you go to a fight. You go into a fight, you're probably going to lose. If you practice and practice and practice and practice, you get to the fight, it's easy. Trading is exactly the same thing.
Brilliant. Well, look, I think that gives people a ton to walk away with here. It might just solve your problem. Now, Andy, we're going to get you back on and do a few more of these. So we've got another 9 to go.
Remember, if you want to be a guest or you want to be a sponsor of the Neuro Performance Podcast, make sure that you're heading over to the show descriptions and make sure that you're clicking on the link and let's chat. It's not available for everybody, but it might be just available for you. So do something different, get access to over 100,000 downloads a month. And guess what? You then become one of the elite people that have been on the show, and your name gets branded next to Beyonce's dad, Bruce Buffer, all of these other people that you love and like. So that's the end of the show, everyone. Make sure that you're heading over to Cam's links. Make sure you're heading over to all my links. And if you are a trader, I didn't actually mention it, but I do have a course called the GeniusTrader.club. The GeniusTrader.club, you can go there now. We are affiliated with Cam and Neuro Nuts. I was going to say the Trading Nuts, and it's absolutely brilliant. And combining that with Cam's 10 episodes, combine it with the Genius Trader. You might want to check the other episode out too, the other one from 2 years ago. I'll put the links there for you. Go and kick ass, go and have an amazing day, and I know I'll see you on the next episode. Oh, just remember to subscribe, write me a review, and see you. Soon.
That's all for this episode of the Neuro Performance Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to stay connected, rate, review, and visit andymurphy.online to take the next step towards unlocking your pure potential. See you next time.